what you want from me. You know.
All right.
Thought he was going to commit suicide.
Yeah, well, which we feel like we're going to do. Let's try this again and get the actual intro to play.
Joe Biden's been a phenomenal president. He's lived up to so many of the promises he's made. There's one promise left that he could fulfill, being a transitional figure. He could resign the presidency in the next 30 days, make Kamala Harris the president of the United States.
Whoa.
It would absolve her from being able to, from having to oversee the January 6th transition, right, of her own defeat. And it would make sure that it would dominate the news at a point where Democrats have to learn drama and transparency and doing things that the public want to see is the time. This is the moment for us to change the entire perspective of how Democrats
Okay, this
operate.
has now jumped from an internet meme to a Sunday morning show.
Jamal's out here right now.
Congratulations.
Season of House of Cards.
I thought you were going to say, what about the Supreme Court? That's also out there.
Well, the Supreme Court might happen. I don't know if it will, but I think this is something that's...
Jamal, Hunley just put it on. You did great. Hunley ran the whole thing. I think he did a great job. Paid attention to an internet meme. And I think you are able to function on CNN. You're going to be the president of CNN. Thank you.
Possibly. I had to bring it up, though. You've been talking about it.
Isn't that funny? Isn't that funny? I mean, we're talking about it, and I'm sitting there watching CNN. I'm going, you got to be kidding me. How does this happen?
At least she acknowledged that he is effectively doing an internet meme.
How about me being reduced to an internet meme? I don't have to take that, Hunley. I'm not an internet meme. I'm bigger than that, Eric.
I prefer let's leave you at an internet meme because I don't want that to happen. We're on opposite ends of that. I'm saying no, ain't going to happen. Not going to be happening.
Look, the fact that they're talking about it is a victory. I doubt it's going to happen, but I mean, it's just one of those bizarre predictions. And now it ends up on CNN because somebody lower down listens to all of our stuff at different levels. I mean, we've seen this on so many different shows. Mark Levin for a while. It's not them; it's their producers or interns.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I mean, I see it with Schmidt every night. I see it with a bunch of different things, and that's the job. You're supposed to look online. I saw a guy today on Newsmax. I think he read my whole Twitter feed for the whole day. He was just putting up one thing after another. That's easy. You talk about phoning it in. Wow.
Hey, you know what? What are we doing? We're out there looking at everybody. What are they saying?
We're looking too, but at least we suit up and show up and try to pontificate on these things instead of, just putting it up on a screen. Jesus.
This is true. Now, I changed my whole setup, so that screwed up the intro. But I did stand up better than what you were saying. You were on with Viva on Sunday, and he got to experience it.
Just to back up, I was filling in for Robert Barnes, who's ill, who's in the hospital. I think he may have gotten out today. I'm not sure of the day-to-day situation. So I was more than happy to help Viva out with that show. I can't fill his shoes. I just did what I could in terms of the show. But Viva apparently needs to go to some sort of technology school to learn how to run his own technology because somehow he was having some problems.
I'm telling you, I'm going to say part of it is his fault, but Rumble Studio.
Right.
It's a little rough.
At one point, he was just mumbling. He was mumbling Hunley at one point. So I was like texting you. I go, can you help this poor bastard, Eric? And you just said StreamYard. That's all you said. I said, oh, StreamYard, do that one. Which is what he did.
He said, I'm going to have to do that.
Right. That's what he said. I mean, it was kind of funny. He was like, I'm here. I'm still in Florida the next day or two. And he's, I'm going over to his house. So he says, let's do the show together. I go, okay. Well, I asked him, I said, what's with Robert? And he said, he's still ill. I go, okay, whatever. If you want me to do it, I'll do it. He says, let's do it together. I go, together meaning what? And he says, like you right next to me. I go, in that room together? I go, what's the upside of that, bro? In other words, he wanted me to sit next to him in his little studio doing the show for 3 hours. I said, Viva, I like you, but not that much, bro.
Yeah, on that note, Barnes still has things going on, but I was happy to see he just tweeted out literally in the last half hour. So at least he's starting to be able to come online and tweet. And I take that as a good sign that he's slowly on the mend. But everybody, please keep Robert Barnes in your thoughts and prayers. We're all pulling for him. We really are.
Yeah.
And I did want to get to that on the top of the show for sure.
Okay. All right. I didn't know where you're going, but there's a lot of cabinet picks apparently coming a lot faster than last time, Eric, right? Or no?
There's some confusion about this too, though. One thing of note, like I know you're a huge fan of Marco Rubio as Secretary of State.
I mean, dude, come on. It's not just me. I mean, that's insane.
Well, the funny part of it is I've seen it pointed out more than once. Why is it Trump is announcing some on Truth Social and then other ones we're seeing, just kind of thrown out there? Are those people who are trying to inject themselves into the process? I'm wondering, because Trump did say, I forgot his name, for the czar, immigration czar,
Tom
we
Homan,
both love.
Tom Homan,
we
Tom
love
Homan.
that pick, right?
Yeah, great pick.
I don't have a problem with I can't remember names, but Stephanie, the congresswoman out of New York, except why are you giving up a congressional seat when you're barely winning that by, the skin of your teeth?
Stefanik out of New York is absurd. Okay. So the whole beef is it's pulling. You've got a razor thin majority in the House, and he's pulling one House person after another for jobs that don't warrant pulling them out. Stefanik, who comes from, it's Jacob Javits' old seat in upstate New York around the Adirondacks. It's a blue area. She's been an incumbent for a couple of terms. She's the fourth ranking Republican in the House, El Stefanik, okay? To put her in that shithole position of ambassador to the UN is not only putting the seat in jeopardy, but it's a waste of her talent. These picks, there's reasons I'm opposed to many of these picks. The Stefanik one is absurd. I mean, again, pulling out a guy. Let's take this guy, for instance, Mike Waltz, right, as National Security Advisor. Okay, Mike Waltz. Safe seat, Republican out of Florida. Okay, now you got to replace that seat. Probably safe. Here's a guy who's a Green Beret. Okay, he's got the credentials, but he was also the advisor to two obscure national security people, Robert Gates and a guy named Donald Rumsfeld. This guy has not seen a war he doesn't like. The same with Rubio. I don't need these people. I didn't vote for Trump to get Mike Waltz to tell me how great the war is going to be. Jesus Christ. Rubio, that's insane. I don't even understand. You're taking another Cuban from Miami and putting him in charge of Secretary of State. It's crazy, Eric.
Yeah. Now, the interesting one that's been floated this afternoon, I don't know if it's going to go down. Tulsi Gabbard for SecDev.
Yeah, that's got the weakest amount of stuff behind it. That just seems like a trial balloon. But the Kash Patel one, as CIA, looks completely legit.
I'm good with him.
Yeah, so am I. I'm not, no beef on that at all. But, they put out this thing about Rubio and Nikki Haley, Secretary of State and Nikki Haley. And it was, I'm sorry, take that back. Mike Pompeo and Nikki Haley was put out. And then Trump, like you said, came out with a statement denouncing both of them, saying, that's not going to happen in this administration. Well, what happens 5 minutes later? 5 minutes later, it's Noem out of South Dakota and Marco Rubio. Noem for head of Department of Homeland Security? Are you insane? That's Kristi Noem, the chick who shot a puppy in the head, going to be the head of Eric. Come on.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell with.
Well, are these the choices of the person that apparently Barnes, way ahead of me, went after months ago? Who is this Susie Wiles? I didn't know. I learned on the show from his people that he's been denouncing her for months.
Yeah. Okay. Well. Okay. Couple things. Noem apparently has a thing going with Corey Lewandowski. And Corey Lewandowski goes way back. So it could be coming from that. I just want to point that out.
It doesn't make it any nicer.
No, I didn't know if you knew that. But
I did hear that.
Connection.
But it staggers the mind.
I'm not sure about Wiles. I know that that Barnes doesn't like herself, but a lot of it I'm kind of going, it's interesting. I looked up the lobbyist elements. People are saying first she's a pharma lobbyist. Now it's a tobacco lobbyist.
Well, she's had multiple. Eric, to be fair, I did the same thing. I thought I was off, but there's a lot of tentacles in her career. So it's not just
she was with the Ballard Partners, and it was like a lobbyist for damn near half of the corporate world. I mean, there was
right. Okay, but do you want a corporate lobbyist to be your chief of staff? I mean, that's the question to you, President Hunley.
I don't know, because I don't know how. I look at it and I say the guy just won the election, and by many accounts, I don't know. Maybe she was asleep at the wheel and he did it on his own, and she wasn't really there steering it. But
or maybe the reverse. Maybe she's the one. Maybe no. I'm saying right now, the chief of staff job is a gatekeeper to do what's coming out in the news. So maybe this is Susie Wiles's choices.
It could.
That's the job. That's the job, Eric.
It could be, but again, I find it very interesting that Trump isn't announcing on True Social. It's like he announces some on True Social. We know those, but these other ones, are we already seeing a problem where people are, maneuvering underneath, et cetera? Again,
I'm already seeing a problem. Yes. When you take Mike Huckabee, and I don't dislike Mike Huckabee, don't get me wrong, and make him from Arkansas, and make him the ambassador to Israel. And I understand he's an evangelical. I have respect for Mike Huckabee. But for the ambassador to Israel, I would prefer a person of the Jewish faith who speaks Hebrew or at least Yiddish to go over there. 6 out of the last 9 ambassadors have been Jews, going back pretty far. And it's not mandatory at all. I'm not saying it is. But for the love of God, I mean, the Jews just moved heaven and earth to help this guy get elected. Every Jew in Beverly Hills just voted for him. There are Jews in Brooklyn voting for him. You take a guy from Arkansas? Oh, come on.
Yeah, I don't know.
Come on.
Well, I mean, has there been a reaction from Netanyahu or Israel?
What are they going to do? What are they going to protest that? Come on, they got bigger fish to fry, Eric. But I'm hearing from my people, this is not acceptable.
The Jewish hotline, Jewish hotline, don't
The Jewish hotline chatters late into the night. People are like scratching. Put it this way: at a minimum, people are scratching their heads in the Jewish community.
Oh, fair enough.
And it's not really necessary because there's plenty of Jews who would do that job. People who are righteous and know what they're doing, who know the state of Israel inside and out. I mean, these picks are like really crazy.
Yeah, I don't know.
Can I live with Mike Huckabee? Yeah, I could live with him.
Yeah, and a lot of people are saying that, in the chat right now, I'm just looking at it. Nobody has a problem with Mike Huckabee itself.
No,
Mark is just saying that there's people who are potentially better. And now he may do a bang-up job. He might be an outstanding ambassador. I don't know, but it's just odd. It's like
just odd. It's just unnecessarily odd. There are plenty of people who in the Jewish community have supported Trump who would fit this job much more appropriately. Now, that being said, Stefanik at the UN, who is not Jewish, she's Catholic, has been absolutely wonderful against the anti-Semitic college deans, Eric. But again, this is a bed of anti-Zionist, anti-Semitic operations at the United Nations, and it may behoove him to have a Dershowitz type over there. Call me crazy. You know what I mean? Like having a guy of some stature, an elder Jewish statesman to go in there. Even that's a waste of talent for that shithole organization. It's almost like you now have made the organization much more important than it should be, wasting Stefanik in there. That's my opinion on it.
No, I 100% agree about Stefanik. Even Elon Musk yesterday tweeted out saying, when you have barely a majority in the House, why are you doing this?
That's exactly right. And now Mike Johnson put out a statement saying there will be no more selections out of the House. Really? He's got to put out a statement saying that? Stephen Miller was a good choice, deputy's policy.
Sure.
Steve,
but he is without a job right now. How about you get all the unemployed people and give them jobs first?
Well, I mentioned Stephen Miller because he comes out of Santa Monica. He's of the Jewish faith. He's a brainiac. He put his ass on the line for Trump. He started that America First legal thing. This guy's been busting his ass. I don't mind that he's deputy policy director of Trump. I don't mind that at all.
No, he's always been a Trump loyalist,
Yeah.
deep loyalist. And by the way, they're saying that Trump actually named John Ratcliffe as CIA director.
I would accept that too. I'll take Ratcliffe.
Okay. Well,
I mean, I don't know the Kash Patel thing. Is he floating trial balloons? And if so, for what purpose? He's got the job. You don't need to float trial balloons on these jobs. Either these are leaks or something else is happening. I mean, where does Kash Patel go now?
It could just be, like Kimmy Hunt here is saying in the chat, that Noem and Rubio are being floated by the New York Times. And that's possible. You could have your enemies out there sitting there saying, oh, it's this one. Oh, it's that one.
The Rubio story is now front page of every single news organization on the earth. This is not the New York Times. This is right and left has the Rubio Secretary of State story. If you allowed this to happen and didn't drive a stake into it, and that's not your choice, you're a bigger schmuck than I can imagine. That's my answer to that.
Okay.
Now, I just want to get to some things in California before I forget, because there's been a lot of political movement over here, and I'm just trying to catch up with it. The Oakland mayor has been ousted, Eric. The Oakland district attorney has been ousted. The San Francisco mayor, London Breed, has been ousted. The district attorney in Los Angeles has been ousted. The chief of police in Los Angeles has been ousted. Prop 36, which returns these crimes that were reduced to misdemeanors under Gascon back to felonies, won by nearly 75% of the voters in the state of California, an outstanding, insane amount and a mandate against lawlessness and pro-crime in the state of California. So I just wanted to get that out there before we got into some other things, because there's a movement on the West Coast that is not being covered because it's being covered up. They're still counting votes in these congressional seats. So far, not one congressional seat has moved or flipped. There might be one since this afternoon that I don't know about yet. But using their system of allowing 30 days to count the votes allows them to maintain almost every single congressional seat that they had. The people in these cities who recalled the mayor of Oakland, the DA of Oakland, London Breed got voted out. She's been replaced by the heir to the Levi Strauss fortune, by the way, who's a moderate Democrat in San Francisco. This may be a great sign for the city of San Francisco. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. That the heir, or is that? I'm curious. Is that the former? I don't know if it's the CEO of Levi Strauss.
No, he's the heir of.
Oh, okay.
He's in the family.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
Yeah, he's a multimillionaire.
Okay, awesome.
Another guy couldn't take it anymore.
I'll take it.
So there's just a lot of movement out there in terms of West Coast, in terms of Trumpian things. Now, Beverly Hills, Jewish neighborhoods, all over the city, you see these red pockets. And if you're hip to it, you will see that those are Jewish neighborhoods all through Los Angeles that went for Trump, whether Orthodox Jews, even some Reform Jews, but conservative Jews, and throughout the state, a Trumpian movement to the right in the state of California, to where Newsom is now jumping at the Woodside and coming to D.C. to try to throw down the gauntlet for 2028.
Well, I mean, we'll see how that goes. Maybe get rid of Karen Bass in the bloodletting.
Yeah, Karen Bass will not win re-election when she comes in. Bringing in this guy McDonald, who I know as chief of police, was shocking to me. Absolutely, this guy I know. Now I know the DA and the chief of police, which is bizarre. Not that they're going to do anything for me, but I'm just saying these are two conservative people in a city of communists. And I think she knows the Olympics are coming. She knows there's going to be a spotlight on the city, as do the rest of the Marxists, and they're bringing in normal law enforcement to deal with it as the spotlight begins to focus on Los Angeles for the Olympics and other events.
Good. I mean,
I'll take it. I'll take it as a win.
I mean, Gavin Newsom showed her that with G, right? I mean, it's like, hey, how fast can you clean up San Francisco? Watch me.
Yeah.
Overnight.
Well, it just shows you how full of shit they are also. By the way, there's a guy named Anthony, all these people leaving, all these celebrities leaving, not leaving so fast, but there's a guy who decided to come here. And I didn't understand this article at first. He's from Australia and he's moving here, the reverse. And his name is Anthony Pratt. He's one of the 10 wealthiest men in the world, friend of Trump's, and he's moving to America like an Elon Musk, and he'll be here shortly applying for citizenship with his billions of dollars. So just a little reverse tip of the hat to people coming here.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right. Well, I wanted to get one more in on possible cabinet picks. A lot of people want this guy as a cabinet pick, who I wouldn't necessarily mind. He's at least entertaining to watch, and I enjoyed his bit today.
Oh, go ahead.
We know that today, a week after the election, President Biden and Vice President Harris had a private lunch. How awkward was that?
I don't even understand. Why would it be awkward?
Because
I can't imagine why.
For her, and then she kept him at arm's length, and then she lost, and now she's back.
Why would you characterize it as awkward? They have regular lunches.
Who?
They
The two of
meet and
them?
talk regularly. Why would you
Biden and
call it
Trump?
awkward?
Weirdness about the way that things have unfolded.
Did you
since
see them?
July
Did you see them together yesterday as well when they honored our veterans and were together during the day, making sure that we didn't forget of the brave men and women that fought for this country? Did you see them together yesterday? Did you see the show of force together? This is
The guy next to him is throwing
I'm not
up
even
in his
gonna
own
take the premise
mouth.
of the question. What I will say is,
Pack your bags,
the
lady. You're
president
going back
and
to
the vice
Haiti.
president had lunch today. They've had lunch many times.
Mm-hmm.
They have they communicate with each other regularly. They had an opportunity to discuss the last 70 days or so of this administration, how important it is to get things done for the American people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's their focus. That is
They're
generally
hocus pocus.
their focus.
She said hocus, didn't she say?
Yes.
I thought it was
Thank
the
you, Corinne.
Biden-Trump thing. That's tomorrow, right, Eric?
President
Yeah,
It's
just
Biden
classic.
and Harris. Oh, Ducey was great. I mean, look how much he got out of her by that simple question.
Oh,
I mean,
God, and she hated it, and she hates him.
But she kept giving him quote after quote after quote. How dare you? How dare you say that? Awkward?
Oh, I love it.
What would be awkward about these two people being together? Well, maybe she was negotiating a deal to become temporary president of the United States, Hunley.
Perhaps.
Perhaps.
Except I'm going to say that, as I said before, if that were to occur, our current president of the United States would not survive it, in my opinion.
You mean Biden?
Yeah, I think that there's somebody on standby who would slaughter him. Watch her on the bottom.
What am I looking at here?
Shake, shake, shake.
Oh, she doesn't shake Jill's hand or something?
Yeah, and Jill does not even look at her, doesn't even turn her head.
Well, we'll talk about embittered wives. How about Melania Trump not meeting with Jill Biden because she went through her lingerie drawer and threw everything on the floor?
Can you blame her?
No, I don't blame her at all. But I mean, Melania has never said a bad thing about anybody. But she's thrown down the gauntlet on this one.
Well, you know what? That's perfect, right? She never says anything bad or anything else. But when it comes time, boom.
Well,
that's her decision.
I think it was Barron too that they rifled through Barron's stuff, and it was just too much, too far, too crazy, too insane, and she blames her husband for it. Jill Biden's husband for it.
Yeah, and I'm sure that Jill Biden was right there supporting them doing that. So forget about it. But let me see. This is another guy that I have heard talked about quite a bit as a
these people have become pathetic. Sorry. I mean, they stopped.
Hold on. Press secretary candidate. And I'm struggling a little bit more. My whole setup has been changed at my house. So.
Okay. All right. I'll roll with you. I had the same thing with Viva. Oh, this guy you're talking about. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, I think he does a pretty good job.
Being comedians, and they started becoming political activists. I mean, these people have become pathetic. I mean, they stopped being comedians, and they started becoming political activists. I mean, Jimmy Kimmel out here crying. I mean, it's pathetic. And so My question is, if you're going to have a late night comedy show, at some point people might expect it to be funny and not just a constant political screed against one party. And I don't know that this activism for 4 more years is sustainable if you're going to market something as comedy, but the actual product is nothing more than sort of lowbrow political activism.
Who's this? Who is that clown?
During the Biden years, there was nobody that provided more comedy fodder possible than Joe Biden. I mean, he was a walking.
He was made fun of.
He was absolutely not. He was left alone.
No,
they got nothing. They didn't get 10% of what they deserved.
He's too old. He doesn't understand. I mean, he seemed like Gerald Ford the way they
never got SNL never got Biden right until Carvey came in the last couple of weeks.
Anyway,
well, I mean, I don't know if any of these guys who are commentators. By the way, I don't know who this guy is. Maybe he should take the job.
I don't know. He's Jennings on the left is one of the top candidates. That's Scott Jennings.
All right.
And he has just been, especially coming on the scene lately, because he's turning around looking at all the co-hosts saying, "You're idiots."
I hear they're cleaning house at CNN. I mean, they put up their salaries today. They may be for sale. I mean, there's all kinds of
MSNBC is up for sale, dude.
That's for sale. I mean, holy crap. I mean, people have had it with these mutts. And I think, I'm giving them 90 days to get rid of Colbert, Kimmel, and Middle Douche on NBC because I think their days are numbered. You can't just have guys weeping at night on TV in a comedy slot. I mean, this has just gone too far. It's 9/11 every night with these guys.
Oh, well, because they have nothing else.
Yeah.
And all right, well, here we go. MSNBC. Let's go over that.
Okay.
Ratings collapse, right?
Yeah.
Joy Reid down 54.6%. Ari Melber down 49.6%. Alex Wagner down 53.6%. Morning Joe down 39.6%. Stephanie Rule down 67%. She's the winning loser.
Wow.
And Andrea Mitchell down 39.7%. By the way, they had shit ratings to begin with. So you're talking about the shows are, well, shit, we might be beating them soon.
Well, did you see the statement by Chris Wallace, the legendary son of Mike Wallace from CBS News?
Who's saying, well, I think I'm going to go do podcasting now.
He just gave up his salary at CNN to go do a podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, he said the future is in podcasting. He said legacy media is dead. Apparently, he got the telegram a couple of years too late. But nevertheless, Chris Wallace moving on out from CNN into the podcast space, Eric.
Well, I mean, duh. I'm sorry. He has 2 peers, 3 actually, who have been out there ahead of him.
Oh, what Cuomo?
No, I mean,
and her, Meghan Kelly.
Meghan Kelly. Well, what about Tucker Carlson?
Oh, Carlson. Yeah, Carlson.
What about Bill O'Reilly?
Well, I don't know where's O'Reilly. Is he?
O'Reilly runs his own thing. Again, he's an internet personality and has a podcast.
Okay.
So those are all Fox people. Not Cuomo, but the rest of them are Fox people. And
you're talking about just Fox, but he is CNN now, Chris Wallace. That's what I'm saying.
No, he left Fox to go to CNN like a dumbass.
Right.
When they all were going out and doing their own thing, he's off to CNN doing the normal thing. Now he's finally going, well, wait a minute. They're all much more relevant than I am.
Yeah.
I should, I need to do something else. What do I do?
I don't know. I would ask his father in the afterlife what to do. His father seemed to understand media pretty well.
Has a different media. If somebody pointed out, Glenn Beck was Fox as well.
Oh, that's right. Glenn Beck.
And he was actually way ahead of them.
He was
break that down.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, there's Peter Ducey. Yeah, I guess a bad jobs report just came out. I'm not sure. I didn't look at the numbers yet, but
again,
yeah, who trusts these numbers? But let's who mourns the loss of the Department of Education? I just want to say that Reagan tried to drive a stake through this in 1980. The place was built in 1979. And Reagan, I guess, said, all right, it's a year old. You don't want to kill the baby in the crib. But Trump is determined to shatter this building into 1,000 pieces, Eric.
Well, you have to give it to the Department of Education. I believe they've done a fantastic job. How many organizations can take a country from number 1 to number 24 in its existence?
We are 24. I think Guatemala's ahead of us, and I don't see the stick. I'm just guessing Guatemala's doing better than we are, since half of them live here anyway. By the way,
Everybody's
there's
doing
nobody
their
left
thing.
in Haiti because they're all in South Florida. I've been here for a couple of weeks. There's no one left in Haiti. Somebody left a note on the door in Port-au-Prince, said, move to South Florida, please.
And Springfield.
And Springfield, please forward the mail to these places where they're eating cats and dogs.
Oh my God! No kidding. Okay.
Statement. There's a statement on Huckabee. I guess I mean, it's hard to tell which is real, which is not real. He put out a statement on Huckabee, and Fox is saying Rubio, bipartisan support, blah blah blah. I mean, I don't know.
Oh, I know that.
Unless he's waiting to see blowback, and then he says, "I never agreed to this."
Yeah, it's very weird. Well, look at the Kash Patel thing. They were saying he's a CIA director.
Yeah.
Oh, Trump makes us. So I do think, you know what, Charlie Kirk.
Are these trial balloons,
or are they just other people trying to insert their guy, their people in there to screw with Trump? We might have to just wait on Truth Social and say, hey,
well, he's not selling his media. I don't think he's even putting it into limbo. According to sources, he's keeping everything.
Okay.
And Nunez, I think, is going to stay there and run it.
Well, I mean, that's fine. It's a weird one account service, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, I take it back. There are other people who do use True Social. I don't personally. It's not active enough for me at this point that I've seen. It seems very dominant as Trump, and it's a great broadcasting thing for Trump, but it doesn't have the juice of X/Twitter or whatever. I definitely wanted to cover this story because it's the most disturbing story in a while, and that is
this is crazy, Eric.
The whole FEMA story. No, it's horrible.
Now she's saying she's a victim.
I think she is a patsy. I think that's the truth. She's saying that it was universal policy. Now, tell me that surprises you.
Okay, no, it doesn't surprise me at all.
And I'm going to go.
She's got to go, and then the head of the FEMA's got to go. Regardless.
No, they all need to be up in front of Congress.
Gotta go, right.
No, they got to be in front of Congress as well.
I agree.
We keep talking about that. Yeah. She just put it out there, put her ass up in front of Congress. Okay, so who told you that?
Let her be a whistleblower.
Who's the policy? Who's this? And I mean, it is it is so sickening what they're doing. And I don't know if you remember this.
Well, Trump said it, and he was mocked as a conspiracy theorist. Don't forget.
Well, this is the same FEMA. I don't know if you remember this. They were holding the employee trainings on white supremacy while the Hawaiians were remaining missing. Because we have important slides like this here. At FEMA, keep in mind, this is FEMA. Why start with white supremacy and race? White supremacy is an ideology, a pattern of values and beliefs that are ingrained in nearly every system and institution.
Sickening.
This is FEMA. This is FEMA. What does this have to do with anything? First off, it's wrong. Second,
what about FEMA bringing in the Haitians into Springfield? What does that have to do with emergency management? They're flying them out of Haiti into Springfield so they can eat cats and dogs for breakfast. Everyone knows dogs and cats don't go for breakfast.
Well, I mean, they did have an emergency in Haiti. I guess,
but it's another country.
I know that. I know. I'm being sarcastic.
It said the first name is federal.
I know. But anyway,
what's sad? They put Biden at the beach the other day in the sand, and I thought, look, a lot of people struggle in the sand. That was just a cruel, cheap shot at the end there. He's losing his footing in the sand. I mean, come on, it's difficult to walk in sand.
Oh yeah, when I was training for marathons and whatnot, a common cross training for running is running on sand because you have no idea how
the balance is off.
It helps your balance, but it strengthens your legs. It's also soft on the impact. But the bottom line is it kicks your ass. Running on sand is brutally
difficult. If you're 80 years old and have balance issues,
sure.
Give me a break. I mean, that was just cruel. I don't understand. Why don't they? It's over now. Who gives a shit? Get them out of there. I'm not gonna waste my breath.
Oh well, I don't want her in there. Who? Sorry, I don't want her in there for 10 minutes.
Oh, as president?
Yeah. Sorry.
Strap yourself in, Hunley. It's going to be a bumpy ride.
I'm saying no, hell no, and hell to the no.
I doubt they're going to do it, but it was a good theory.
Yeah. Well, okay. Speaking of, we got to change up and have stupid headlines every once in a while. Too.
Yeah. Bring on the stupidity.
This is maybe the stupidest headline I've seen in a long time. Costco is forced to recall 80,000 pounds of butter.
Butter?
Guess why?
Why?
Because they did not label it as containing milk.
That's weird.
Again, stupid.
Wow.
It literally is milk, you dumb shits.
Wow, that is bizarre. I guess it has to say milk on the butter label, or
there has to be allergy warning that the butter contains milk.
Weird.
And I'm just sitting here going, it's like they might as well say I don't have a label on milk that says contains milk, because it is freaking milk.
Interesting. The Butter Churner Society. Well, if you scroll up a little bit above that, you'll see the P. Diddy special jail treatment story, which I was reading this morning with Bankman-Fried, and he is in a special, top-notch, incredible food and entertainment wing of the hotel now. Diddy, somebody remember, like 2 weeks ago, a agency raid happened. A multi-level agencies went into the Metropolitan Correction Center unannounced and did a review of the facility. Next thing I know, Diddy is living large and able to spy on female convicts through a peephole in the cell floor that everyone knows about who's ever been a prisoner there. And the women know about it also, and they interact with the men doing, let me just say things. I'll just say things. They do things through the hole. Okay, I don't want to get into it. But Diddy, I mean,
there's no glory in this situation.
There's no glory in this hole. But the reality of it is there's all kinds of entertainment where he is now. There's a whole different menu. All of a sudden, Diddy's living large after this raid, quote unquote, and Kamala Harris has lost the election, which I think is connected.
Oh, and SBF is living large too. I find that very interesting.
That's his neighbor. SBF's his neighbor.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of the Menendez brothers. They were in jail in LA. They were in the LA County Jail, which is another hellhole. And who comes in the next cell with the next story? O.J. Simpson. And the guy starts talking to O.J. Simpson. He's literally in the next cell to Eric Menendez at the LA County Jail. And they develop a relationship. And he says to OJ, whatever you do, keep an eye on Robert, what's his name? The Shapiro. He's a terrible attorney. And OJ said, I'll keep that in mind, brother.
Okay. Wow. Shapiro or Kardashian?
No, Shapiro. Because he was the original lawyer for the Menendez brothers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, maybe that's when he brought on.
Yes, you got it. The Dream Team.
Yeah.
He got Johnny Cochran.
And also, my brain is fried today. Bailey.
He brought in.
Effley Bailey.
Bailey was in there for a couple of minutes. Bailey's associates were in there. And then the DNA guys.
Yeah, I mean, he literally is like the who's who of all the attorneys in the 90s.
Shapiro, you're talking about?
No, OJ.
Oh, yeah.
He
OJ.
had the who's who. I'm saying it's like
well, they called it a dream team. Now, what do you make of the judge pushing back the case in New York, Marshawn? This is separate from Erdogan. The Marshawn for 1 week until Alvin Bragg can weigh in, I imagine. What's your take on that?
I think he's trying to kick it. I think he's trying to find any way he can to get rid of this thing.
Right. Well, he's going to kick it back.
Smith.
Go ahead.
Same way as Jack Smith is like, okay, bye-bye. Like, pack the bags. It's like it shows what a lie it was. I mean,
but we all know that. We all know that.
But I'm saying that. Yeah. Thank you for showing it now. Thank you for demonstrating. It's kind of like people are starting to go, there are 10 million fewer votes or 15 million fewer votes on the table, but there's more of a population than before. Maybe these people aren't so crazy about what happened in 2020. That's odd. And
well, Jack Smith, by the way, spent $50 million going after Trump. This is just the Jack Smith prosecution. I don't know what was spent in New York. That's the taxpayers' money of New York that was spent there. But $50 million to go after Trump on the federal level. The state charges with Marshawn, somebody said, and I think it might have been Napolitano, they may kick it down for 4 years until he's out from this term.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then there is no more presidential connection, but then he's completely vulnerable again.
Well, and if they really wanted to get him, that's what they do.
Yeah.
In fairness, because then there is no more immunity after that point. It's possible. Barnes has been saying for a while that he's just going to dump it and do a mistrial or something else. The way he keeps delaying makes me feel like he's trying to find a way to wiggle out of it.
Well, somebody also said that judges don't like to be the ones to do it. They'd rather have the DA do it than them being with egg on their face. So he may be looking to get Alvin Bragg or Letitia James or one of those African-American pawns to do it and to get it off his plate.
It could be, but remember, Alvin Bragg is the one who back in July, I believe, said, yeah, we could go ahead and delay that. We're in no hurry. No.
Yeah. I don't think Bragg is
right back to the judge.
Yeah. This is a hot potato, Hunley.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think is going to happen next week? I mean, it's only a week away. What difference does 1 week make in this case?
Well, because Trump's team filed an exception for it. So if he could find, again, I could be wrong, but I feel like Merchan's wanting to dump it. And if he could find anything that he can hang on by Trump's team, if they file something, he could go, oh, you know what? I agree. Dump it.
What about the Erdogan case? He's not as the same situation as Marchand. Marchand's daughter worked for Kamala Harris, and Erdogan does not.
But that one's already done, right? I mean,
no, it's not done.
I thought it was up for appeal.
I don't think it's done at all. I think that's another active case.
No, but it's on appeal. I thought that the judgment was already rendered, or am I thinking of the wrong one? Letitia James tried to
Letitia James or Fannie Willis. But all of these cases are active except Jack Smith. That's the only one that I think is completely kiboshed.
Right. So that the Jack Smith ones were the federal.
Right. The state ones are active. The state ones.
But Letitia James, I thought, was the prosecutor, or is her team with Erdogan, and that's
true too. So, but Erdogan and Marchand are two separate judges in two separate cases.
100%. But I'm saying but the fine, the award has already been declared by Erdogan, so it's beyond him. It's like I thought that was in the appeal state.
I think you're right. I think you're right.
Marchand is still in that initial state.
Okay, so I'll go with that for right now. But
Erdogan's it's already off his back.
This story's not over yet, so we're going to have to revisit this next week. If there's some activity, I don't know what's going to happen.
Well, at Fannie Willis again, that's the other one where we're going.
That's the other one. Yeah.
Well, they just kicked that 4 years down the road.
Kicking it 4 years down the road doesn't cut it for me, because I'd like to get some resolution now, instead of making Trump vulnerable when he's 83 years old and leaves the presidency for the final time.
Well, I absolutely agree, but that doesn't mean that they're not dirty players who will do everything they can to.
Well, here's an idea. Why not go after them?
Okay. He's got 4 years to do that.
Yeah.
And there are already people who are doing that. I mean, Fannie Willis, our friend Phil Holloway, has been keeping a ledger on her with the local attorneys.
Now, what about this general clearinghouse thing you were talking about with the Joint Chiefs?
I just saw that. I love that.
What is that? What is that story?
Favorite thing ever. He's apparently.
Well, put up the article so people can see what you're talking about.
I can't put that one up because it's on the paywall.
Oh, so okay. Forget it. Then you just tell them what's about.
Okay. From what I understand, the goal is he's putting together a bunch of retired military generals, experienced people who are going through. And Sean Spicer mentioned it earlier today, kind of offhand. He said, let me just say that anyone wearing 2 stars or above who has made any statements about DEI or anything of the like probably should be looking over their shoulder right now.
I like that.
And this panel, from what I understand, is going through checking actual military readiness, and it is a buzzsaw for all senior military leadership who have been doing the woke stuff. So,
that black joint,
he's the number one target.
That guy's got to go.
Well, you've brought him up 1,000 times. He's right in the picture. He's like number one.
Well, that guy's
with
number
a
one
bullet.
with a bullet. Number two is Mark Milley.
Oh, for
But
sure.
Mark Milley's
already
inactive.
retired, right?
No, he's inactive, but he bailed out. Now, will Ray depart before Trump chops his head off at the FBI?
You know, I don't know. These people are so arrogant. I could see him. And by the way, not without good reason, because Trump keeps doing that. If people kiss his ass hard enough, he tends to let certain things go. So like Christopher Wray could be like, oh, always knew you were the smartest guy ever. And boy, you sure showed us that was a hell of a win. And, try to lick boot and stay in there.
He's got to go before the end of the year.
I hope so.
This is not even debatable. There's no, revitalization of this guy's career. He's just got to go. The head of the Secret Service, that replacement guy's got to go. All of these people have to go.
By the way, there's talks about Bongino for head of Secret Service.
That would be fun.
Rumored. I don't think it's going
to give up a multi-million-dollar social media empire.
However, the other name that's coming up is the guy who protected him. The one who actually was down, holding him down, and holding him when he said fight, fight, fight. His head of his own personal detail.
That I don't know, because it takes administrative skill too for this job. So it's not just it's not just being a Secret Service agent like James Bond, or it is a massive organization that Kristi Noem will be in charge of. So that's reassuring. Who shot her puppy in the face because I think the puppy bit her kid or some shit.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal is. That it's such a weird choice. And why not just give it to the guy who's the czar? Why not just give it to him?
Who, Holman?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll take that. I mean, I think it's got more international repercussions to it than just domestic Department of Homeland Security, because it involves transportation, right? Planes,
Secret Service.
Yeah, I mean,
Border Patrol.
It's a big umbrella. It's a big umbrella.
100%. So you're going to put her there? She's a governor, but the smallest state, or one of the smallest
states.
Oh,
you said that about Huckabee too, and then you.
Yeah, but I pointed out there's an irony that there's another guy from Arkansas who made it all the way to presidency.
Yeah, that's right, Eric. That's right. I was there.
I know, and supporting and carrying the pickets.
I was there.
So, I mean, I don't know. And Arkansas's got an interesting past.
Yeah, anyway. Arkansas is creep. Well, I mean, all of these Cubans, and I talk about Ted Cruz's father being a deep state Cruz Cuban, Rubio being a Cuban deep stater. I mean, Cubans are really glowing in the dark most of the time. Cuban Americans in politics, bro.
This is true. By the way, can I point out something that remember that nail biter race for Ted Cruz? How much did he win by? 8 points?
$1 billion. He won by $1 billion.
I mean, it's like, is this some sort of a running, joke? Because they said that about Beto. Hey, Ted Cruz is in trouble. Beto's going to take him out. Oh my God, it's looking bad for Ted Cruz. And then he claims
there was also the movement for Ted Cruz to be a Supreme Court judge. Remember that whole?
Sure.
That was the thing too for a while.
I wouldn't mind that. He's been a clerk for a lot of them. He's argued in front of the Supreme Court multiple times, and he's a pretty solid legal mind. I mean, he might piss us off on certain things, but
well, I think we got to mention the Kerry Lake case also now, because this thing needs to seal every piece of evidence involved in this case, and I mean every ballot, every piece of paper, everything has got to be sealed and not destroyed. Until Trump gets in there with an investigative team in January, forensic team, to begin to do comparative signatures. Forget the courts. Courts are out. He's got to physically go in there with United States Marshals and seize the ballots and do this themselves with signature comparisons from the outside and the inside. Any ballot that has been, stripped away of this information goes in the garbage, and just count this thing from 1 on up. I mean, this is crazy. I mean, Gallegos now got more votes than Kamala Harris. This thing, they keep finding. They found another 79,000 ballots the other day out of Phoenix, Eric. Is it the drug cartels? Do they run this? Is Arizona a narco state? Let me just put it out there. Is this a state run by the narco terrorist out of Sinaloa?
You need to.
I'm hearing this. I don't.
It's possible. I mean, well, where do they go? I mean, how much of the drugs, fentanyl, and everything else goes through Arizona? Yeah, I mean, it's
No, but I'm saying, how far does their money go? I mean, we know that they own certain politicians. Do they own the apparatus of one of the 50 United States? That's where we are. That's where they are. Do they own politicians throughout the state? And it's an impregnable wall where people are getting bought off with the threat of death hovering above all that, because it's not a deep state. It's a drug cartel.
Right. Well, what I'm thinking is, if they may not even own the politicians directly, they may own what this one guy who was part of the Gray Davis administration deemed the Weebies. He was complaining to people who are working at the State House in California, and they looked at him and said, "Yeah, whatever, we're Weebies." And he goes, "What the hell's that?" And he said, "We be here when you're gone." And I could see the cartel money. Well, no, I'm saying that the cartel money and all that could own like all these secretaries, all these employees, well-placed, who can do the same basic effect as any politician coming in. If the people.
Oh, remember they try to buy her out, Eric. Remember they try to bribe her.
Sure.
I mean, this thing is off the rail. Forget about Carrie Lake. I don't even care about that. We can't afford to give up an entire state political apparatus to a drug cartel from a third world country. I mean, I know that sounds crazy, but crazier things have happened. And I believe their money. I mean, this was like out of The Godfather on steroids, it looks like. Where Michael Corleone has a senator out of Nevada. They may have senators out of Arizona.
Yeah, and
it's not that far-fetched. They were doing it in the 1940s, the Italian mob.
I agree. And if not that, they're staffs. Because that's equal.
What?
If not the senators themselves, they're staff.
Right.
And
okay.
That's equally
but
powerful.
I'm saying this warrants federal investigation.
Oh, sure.
I'm going. Because I'm trying to give them an excuse to get in there. And the rationale would be that it's international in scope. That's the reason that you get in with subpoenas and you begin to do this thing and avoid the corrupt courts of Arizona who are going to say, you don't have standing, you don't have standing, you don't have standing. This has got to be brought to the federal level.
How about RICO? This is a good case for RICO.
Good RICO case. Good RICO case.
Very high potentiality there.
Yeah.
For that. And you can also call it election interference. It's like we keep going Russia, Russia, Russia. People are saying that. What about Mexico, Mexico, Mexico?
I would sign on to that in a second. Wisconsin is definitely suspect. The race in Wisconsin is suspect. They try to steal it in Pennsylvania, as I was yelling about. And apparently, now that it's Elias will do what Elias is going to do on the Democratic side again for Bob Casey. But they gave up, I think, on the presidential level and began to get into congressional and Senate races, which are much easier, much more shadowy, much less focused upon by the national media.
Well, I think somebody showed a graph, and I should have grabbed it. I saw it offhand, but they showed where that his number, he jammed it up too high, and he did pass the margin of fraud.
Yeah,
that our friends, Barnes and Barris constantly reference, and I believe in now that he did it. The problem is his coattails weren't long enough to bring the other ones up with him the whole way. So they had 3 to 4 points between him and the Republican, but he jammed it, up their butt, if you will. So
well, not only that, those state laws in California and Arizona of having the leeway to count for weeks on end are there not to help the voter. They're there to help the fraudsters. I mean, who the hell needs 13 days in Arizona? The guy was saying, well, there's a lot of things on the ballot. California, it's 30 days, Eric. They're still not done. There's still another 17 congressional races in California. And you think the chicanery, as I said on Viva's show the week before, begins after the elections, when everybody goes home. That's when the chicanery occurs. 17 days, 3 weeks. After this, federal legislation has to be brought down from the House to the Senate, signed by the President of the United States, that they cannot count for any amount of time that they decide after an election. Very simple bill. I don't give a shit any way you want to word it. You can't count for 4 weeks.
No, I agree. I mean, Isn't it Florida who has it in their law that all ballots are counted on by election day?
It's the same
and
thing.
They count all the way to it, so they're counting as they come in. It's like okay, well, blah, 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 and they tally it up. Then on election night, they go, boom, here we go. This is who did it. I personally like the whole idea of the election holiday. That it's a national holiday. You know whatever.
I'll buy that. I'll buy that.
Every 4 years, everybody you can get out and vote. If you are, crippled or infirm, obviously we had those things written in before. You could get a notary to say this is you, and do your ballot ahead of time. But those are the only mail-in ballots. Those and the military who are.
I'll add further to your plan. Has to be on a Saturday. The reason it's on a Tuesday was to avoid voter turnout. We're the only country in the Western world that has it on a weekday. That was done intentionally to reduce turnout. This has to be done on a Saturday or Sunday, one or the other.
Yeah, Saturday would prevent the Jews from voting, wouldn't it?
No, it wouldn't. I mean, you could get the mail-in ballot. It's a handful of people.
Okay. Well, I'm just asking.
Yeah, no, you got a religious exemption, which is what you're referring to. That's fine.
Yeah, okay.
But the reality of it is, it was done on a Tuesday because people were working and designed intentionally to reduce turnout. I talked about on Viva how this evolved in California. It went from same day stamp on the envelope at the postal service, accepting the mail-in ballot, stamped election day. That was extended after a year or two to 3 days after that. That was extended to 7 days after that. No, it's all well documented. The 7 days became 3 weeks. And then the state Secretary of State has 38 days to finalize any election in the state of California. It evolved on purpose. It evolved, and that allowed them to pass around voter dead list and everything else that they do right now, showing that there's still 17 different seats that are still counting right now. It's got to end. It's got to end. We can't go through another election cycle in 2 years with this, and I mean congressional election cycle, Eric.
Agree. I mean,
you had a red wave all through the country. Not one congressional seat changed hands in the entire state of California.
Very interesting. But of course, and as we discussed before, you mentioned how it's shifted over time. What always shifts one direction too. Mm-hmm. That's the part I love.
It's a one-party state, so they just said, you know what? Nobody's going to stop us. Make it a week. And when it was 3 days, it was 3 days for about 2 years. And then they say, make it a week. Nobody cares. We'll do whatever the fuck we want. Then it became a month. Now it's a month. I mean, that's what happened to Caruso running for mayor against Karen Bass. Went to bed. He was leading. Next night, still leading. The end of the week, still leading. I mean, this is the mayor. This is the mayor's race.
That's how Kamala Harris won.
Right. Rick Caruso, 3.5 weeks later, he's not the mayor-elect anymore. It was a Marxist.
Well, it's your state.
Yeah,
you've got a lot of work to do, but I do think that
in the resistance we do.
Well, fair enough. I do think that election reform should be among the very first things that Trump comes out with, because in 2 years we got another election. So
I have
got to clean this shit up now.
An election czar.
Okay.
Are you down for a cabinet level non-confirmation or confirmation? I don't give a shit. Election czar.
I guess. I mean, I don't know if you need a position, but if that's what it takes, cool. I mean, I'm not.
Somebody's got to grab the bull by the horns here. I mean, people seem to have other jobs. There seems to be nobody in charge of elections.
Well, I was thinking like laws, like literally putting together a bill through Congress and then locking in laws.
A guy in charge or a woman in charge to have the legislation created, write the legislation, pass it on to the House, and then to the Senate, and then back to the president. It's got to start somewhere. I mean,
we've got some good congressmen. You got Jim Jordan. Okay. We got a couple people to sponsor that. It would be nice if you can get a bipartisan support. Unlikely, but it would be nice to have a bipartisan bill.
Well, if he continues to bull Republicans out of the House, he's not going to have a lead much longer.
I don't know that.
Dude, please explain this to me, because I'm finding it hard to believe that the senators have to go. By the way, I mean, DeWine is not going to nominate a Trumper out of Ohio to replace J.D. Vance.
It's possible, and I'll tell you why. Because I thought it was funny. The only reason he's now floating, it might be Vivek, is because he has to leave his governor's seat, and Vivek could possibly become governor of Ohio. So they would much rather give him the temporary position of senator, and he has to run on his own, I think, than to risk the governorship of the state, which I think that Vivek should go for. If he could get the governor slot, then, he could get the executive experience for 8 years, and then potentially be a down the road candidate in 12 to 16 years.
Well, Hochul in New York is going to call for a special election for the seat vacated by Stefanik. So we're going to have a special election in New York. He's going to have to do something in Florida, DeSantis, for Mark Rubio's vacated Senate seat. Jeff Sessions had a Senate seat that didn't end well, that he gave up to become Attorney General. That flipped, if I recall, went to the Democrats eventually. Again, I mean, these are some choices like there's nobody left on the earth that he's got to pick these people.
I know, especially when there were loyalists within his organization before. People who have literally walked through fire and humiliation by standing by Trump. No, in these dark years, I mean, you really need to say who was in exile with you.
Okay, here's the first four I would pick, and I don't know which one to give them. Navarro's got to get a job. Steve Bannon's got to get a job. Paul Manafort's got to get a job. Roger Stone's got to get a job. Anybody have a problem with that can kiss my fat ass. These guys went to jail for this guy. At least offer them a position of some authority to do something in a government that they went to jail for. Their names have disappeared out of the zeitgeist, and I'm now hearing about this Green Beret, and I'm hearing about the governor of Arkansas, for Christ's sakes.
Yeah, next you'll hear Dan Crawford.
Yeah, this Rogers, I think, might be the equivalent of that. I mean, it is astounding. It is astounding.
Yeah, General Flynn needs a job.
General Flynn was the one I forgot. General Flynn. Take care of these people, then call me when you're done. Call me when you're done taking care of the people who went to jail, whose lives were destroyed by the opposition and an attempt to get you. Because he has said repeatedly, they're coming for me, but they're really coming for you. Well, in between there's a guy who's the head of the Trump organization who's still sitting in Rikers Island, who's the CFO of the Trump organization that they came for, who's also a 79-year-old man. How about doing something?
The Treasury should be open.
Yeah, how about that for Peter Navarro, for Christ's sakes?
I totally agree. And I think it's
take care of these people. Show some gravitas in taking care of your own people who literally went to hell and back for you.
Yeah, because all the other people who are working for you were writing books, screwing you.
Yeah.
And these guys, they didn't cash in on the books. They lost everything.
They lost everything.
To be loyal.
I mean, Paul Manafort was in solitary confinement, for Christ's sakes.
Another guy.
Yeah.
And these guys are definitely solid, picks. I mean,
may put Manafort in charge.
Roger Stone could have been chief of staff.
Absolutely.
He knows the deal.
Manafort knows so much. And I don't mean where bodies are buried. I mean about the machinery of politics. Goes back to the Ronald Reagan years. I mean, Manafort knows everything, bro. Everything. I mean, has this guy suffered enough? I mean, for the love of God, do the right thing here.
Yeah. I mean, actually, a Manafort for the UN.
Yeah, he could be at the UN. I mean, that would be ironic. I mean,
I know.
Go after Vindman in Virginia. Go after that mud.
Please. Yeah, I hope a lot of people are filling out their retirement papers right now because things are coming.
Yeah.
Things are coming. Like, I don't know if this is true, but I heard that Qatar has said we're no longer a vacation spot for you, Hamas. Get out.
Look, we've heard that before, but you got to clean out that wasp's nest in Qatar. So it doesn't happen again. And you've got to, at least Trump has said that he's not satisfied until Israel completely destroys Hamas, which is good to hear. I don't know what Huckabee's evangelical take is on that. I'm shuddering to think about Huckabee involved with Israel, but look, it is what it is. I mean, this is the hand.
I think that Huckabee, while he may not speak Yiddish or Hebrew, I believe he is a pretty strong supporter of Israel, and people refer to him as a Zionist.
Yeah, no, look, I'm not saying that you have to be the nationality of Russian nationality to be the ambassador to Moscow, but it helps, if you have a background in that area, to deal with the culture you're going into deal with, to be the middleman essentially between that culture and the president of the United States. Let's face it, that's the job, Eric. Is to go into another culture and say, this is what I'm reading in their wording of what they're telling me. This is my opinion. My grandmother, not mine, but I'm saying whoever's grandmother was, let's say, Lithuanian, becomes the ambassador to Lithuania. He may have an understanding of their body language, their interpretation of things, their codes, their mores, things of that nature, to make the job easier.
True.
Yeah.
By the way, we got a Rumble rant from Alan, AG Main 52, $100, saying Mike Huckabee is the best choice Trump made. The rest of the lineup is horrible, a complete disaster.
Okay. Thanks, Alan. I don't know about the Huckabee love, but look, his daughter was a fantastic press secretary. I didn't think she had any previous chops in doing that.
No, and she's governor now, like you. So, they've been a family business, being governor of Arkansas, whichever. But I don't know. We'll see what's going to happen with this. I'm not sure. Did you see what happened with Disney?
Not yet, but I'm sure it's not good.
It's just it is so perfectly typical of our current situation. One of the popular exhibits they've had forever is the Hall of Presidents, right?
Okay, I'll take that as a agreement. All
right. Well, they are permanently closing the Hall of Presidents because Trump got elected.
That's insane.
Take a look at that. This is Trump, the robot. Does that look like Trump?
No.
Let me tell you why that doesn't look.
What is it? A ride or a museum, or what is the whole?
Well, no, it's a feature. You go in there and then you have animated presidents who talk and say different stuff.
Okay. Wow.
It's been around for 50 years. I mean, it's a staple.
Out here in Florida or LA?
Yeah, in Florida, in Orlando, Magic Kingdom.
Right.
Okay. Take a look at this face. Does that look like Trump?
No. Looks like a Ruth Payne with a wig.
No, it's actually Hillary Clinton.
they
built the robot for Hillary Clinton and then shifted it to Trump. Now look again. Does that look like Hillary Clinton? Yeah.
Yeah, now it does. Now that I see it, yeah.
I mean, that's how screwed up they are. And from what I understand, I don't have it confirmed. They had built something for Kamala Harris, and that didn't work out. And there
were times when she
just shut it down, just shut it all down.
She looked like Reverend Al in certain. I don't know if they did that on purpose. There were certain memes where she looked like Al Sharpton in the facial area, but with her hair. I don't know if that was intentional or not.
It could be.
I mean, they found the contracts of her to Oprah Winfrey, by the way, to Oprah's production company.
That Oprah's trying to deny?
Apparently it can't be denied now because the contracts, 2 payments of $500,000 has been verified now.
Wow. Now, I'm sure Oprah would be like, oh, I was somebody in my organization. I don't know anything.
No, she owns 90% of Oprah, whatever the name of her company is. The same thing with Beyonce. The same thing with that fat Lizzo. Lizzo got $2.3 million. I mean, these are. I think these are criminal things. I don't know that you could take election funds and give them to your friends to perform at your bar mitzvah. You know what I'm saying, Eric? I don't know how this is legal.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I mean, you're just going to give it money to your friends to show up to make believe that there's a grassroots thing. I mean. People speak on when you're running for president and secretly you're paying them.
Well, and it's so sad too, because it's not like they even performed.
Beyonce didn't perform.
No. Well, first they promised her an event. She didn't even show up. And everybody's like, oh, we're going to go watch Beyonce. She didn't show. Then it was another place that's like, she showed up and talked for 5 minutes. Everybody's like, where's the concert?
One guy got paid and performed and people couldn't take it anymore.
Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah.
And they said,
"There's a rain to the sea and to the rain."
Hey, he was giving Mark Cuban a competition in the lesbian front, from what I saw.
Mark Cuban in the lesbian front. Okay.
Yeah, Mark Cuban looks like Rachel Maddow. No.
Oh, I see. Who does he look like? Who does he look like?
Oh, Bruce Springsteen just looked like your average run-in-the-mill lesbian.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I didn't do it. He looks sad, man. This isn't Disney, but it's close enough. It's Mattel, and it's tied in with the Wicked movie. You might enjoy this. Packaging for Wicked dolls from the movie, they screwed up and they put the URL wicked.com instead of wickedmovie.com. Apparently, wicked.com is a prawn purveyor.
Hold on, let me write this down. Wicked.com. Okay, go on.
Yeah, it is a movie that makes it is a company that makes adult movies, like XXX adult movies.
Wow.
So the kids are getting a URL on their toys.
Mommy. What is it, Billy? Mommy, look. Ah!
Oh my God. I'm sorry. It's just too damn funny.
Boy, they could screw up a wet dream, these people. Holy cow.
Yeah, they can.
Wow.
I've got a headline here.
Glory days, living in a young man's heart. Glory days. I'm sorry. I got carried away there.
Oh, these are dolls for the daughters. The daughters are going to have a good time. Okay, this is alternate news. I don't know if you saw it. I'm happy to see this.
What is it?
Apple's new update is frustrating law enforcement. And one thing I've always appreciated that Apple told the FBI to F off about the San Bernardino people, not because I support terrorists, for obviously I don't,
but you support the law, you support
and
the
privacy
law.
And things like that. So their latest 18.1 update has a feature in it that if your phone isn't touched for 4 days, it just logs out. Like, it doesn't matter what you do, it automatically logs out.
But they're calling it the Matthew Crooks model. Come on, Hunley. I mean, that's silly. That's silly. I mean, Matthew Crooks has this model of the phone in the afterlife, but what about his accounts? How do we get in there?
I don't know, but they had his phone the same day. But Mark, keep in mind, he was not on social media of any kind. Remember? Any kind. Ever. No.
What about the other guy, the Ukraine recruitment guy? He had a lot of social media.
Well, he doesn't exist. Ryan Riff's gone.
Yeah. Where did he go? What gulag is that cat in?
The memory hole.
Yeah.
The George Orwell memory hole.
Let me tell you something. If Booth shot Lincoln in this generation, he would have disappeared a long time ago, Booth.
Yeah.
Yeah. They would have said Lincoln died of natural causes.
It's very possible. It is very possible. Okay. I saw this, and I actually find this to be a very encouraging headline. And it's this group in New York, Make the Road NY. They're, of course, protesting the election because that's what they do. But by the way, you notice how there's all these election deniers now?
Well, I also know that they put out a massive, besides this movement down 6th Avenue the other day, they are organizing for one of the largest demonstrations in American history at the inauguration. So keep that in mind on your back burner.
I am.
Which will end in violence, but go on.
What I like about this is, did you notice how they identify themselves? TGN CIQ plus.
What does T stand for? Trans.
Right. Notice who's missing?
L?
GB.
GB? Gay bi?
Yeah. It used to be LGBT. That's my point. It used to be LGBTQ. Now they've jettisoned the gays off.
Well, what is TGN?
Trans. Hold on. I'll give you the breakdown.
Okay, completely.
Here we go. Transgender, gender nonconforming, intersex, and queer.
Damn, motherfucker. You can't even be gay anymore.
No. By the way, a lot of the gays, and I'm not trying to be mean.
They're upset.
No, they're happy.
Oh,
because they're saying, get the hell away from us because you trans people are screwing our lives over. Nobody had a problem with us. We got gay marriage and we just want to be left alone.
Yeah.
So I think that's good, seeing them separated out.
Well, the fact that illegal aliens were marching down 6th Avenue demanding rights, I found to be laughably insane. That they're already protesting, obviously being used. I saw the people in the front of the protest directing them. It was the typical leftist directing these people. They probably paid to protest, but nevertheless, at some point, ICE is going to have to start going after them with hooks and tongues. And
we've got a new czar who said that there will be employer raids coming.
Yeah, I kind of like that.
He's going. No, he's old school. He's like, I'm just like, I'm waiting. You're going to be hearing the shouts of La Migra in near future.
Yeah, I mean, these governors, I believe, if they obstruct justice, they have to be charged with something called obstruction of justice and indicted. If they refuse the federal turnover to the ICE the ICE police, they have to be indicted and charged with obstruction of justice, like anyone else.
Yes,
I mean, and if they had the courage of their convictions, I would turn yourself in and go to jail and Martin Luther King the whole goddamn thing, and go in there and say, I am willing to do the time because I believe in this wholeheartedly, and I am willing to go to jail for my beliefs. That would be a manly or womanly thing to do, but they're not going to do that. They're going to hide out in their mansion and yell and scream that he's coming for them, and they won't have a hairdresser. So we'll see what happens to Whitmer and to what's her face up there in Massachusetts, and we already know what Newsom's going to do. So hopefully they'll come for Newsom. That'd be the greatest day of my life.
We'll see. I mean, that guy's he's a good slitherer. I mean,
yeah,
I don't know anybody better.
He's a snake. He's the perfect candidate for 2028 for the Dems.
100%. But you know what's nice is he's not the only snake. There's going to be some real infighting. I meant to send it to you. It's too long, but if you get a chance, check out James Carville's breakdown of why we lost.
Oh, about the wokeism and the.
I have a soft spot in my heart for James Carville because he's just like this old school
Clintonian.
Politico from hell, and he doesn't hold back. He's like, effing told him, done it. He's like, he goes, I know it's not nice to say I told you so, but I told you so. He's just laying into it. But I wanted to share this one. This is Charlie Kirk talking about Trump's strategy and what they actually did, and what he did with Turning Point, and it's completely different. They went against the Karl Rove model, and I thought you'd find it, because you're a big Politico, and I thought you'd find it interesting.
And Donald Trump's campaign strategy, of which we helped execute on the ground in some of these states, was that, guys, don't spend your time knocking on doors about a suburban soccer mom who's weighing her options. Instead, because that takes 9 contacts to try to get her. 9 points of contact on average. Conversations, discussions, and they could be 30 minutes on it. Instead, Turning Point, go spend your time in very Republican areas where there are non-registered, or what we call disengaged voters. People that like Trump, like his worldview. For example, the bro vote, right? And so this is where we spent our time, and we harvested, not ballot harvested, but we harvested in a very, very powerful way. At Arizona State University, for example, we registered thousands of young men to vote in fraternities. And that was way easier than us going to try to win over swing voters. And we did a little bit of that, but generally the Trump campaign was brilliant because they threw the Republican consultant playbook out. The Republican consultant playbook was spend all your time on the middle, on those like middle 15% swing voters, and go all in. Trump campaign said, why don't we just make our base bigger? Why don't we just make the people who love us the most? And so what they looked at was demographics. And they realized if we can make the electorate 3% more masculine, and by the way, they were so smart to do this.
This is Susie.
Is that Cuomo
and James Blair and La Savita, and they were so smart because they said, wait a second, what is more important than race? Whether or not you're a man or a woman actually dictates your political affiliation far more of a correlation than your race. So they de-emphasized racial politics, and they emphasized more of a masculine machismo approach. And boy, did it work. And not only did it work, you're right.
Anyway, it goes on for a couple more minutes.
That's pretty good.
I thought that was a fascinating breakdown, and really smart about the idea of like, well, why don't we just go get the people who already like him and gin them up and get them to come out. And Cuomo even said that's fascinating and was in it. But
he's going to tell his brother about it.
Well, by the way, that's who Cuomo voted for.
His brother?
Yeah. He wrote in his brother.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Right.
And he even had a picture of, I guess, and showed Patrick Bet-David and Patrick, PBD's like, can I show it? He goes, no, I think it's illegal. So pretend you didn't see it.
Well, in California, you can only write in approved write-in candidates.
Of course, it's California.
They've got it buttoned up. I mean, people should examine what these cats have done out there and dismantle it. Obviously, that would be great, but you should see what they've come up with. Every possible scheme on the planet has come out of Sacramento in the past 10 years.
Yeah, I believe it.
Okay, so let me just think about positions that are available now. Department of Transportation. You have any idea on that, or?
I mean, that would honestly, that would be like a Kristi Noem position or something.
Okay, yeah, I agree.
It's some of these. I'm like,
what do you want to do with Giuliani? He's obviously served his time with Trump. What does he get?
Attorney General. Oh wait, well, I don't know. He's been disbarred, but does an Attorney General have to be an attorney? Like
I think we had this conversation once before. Apparently,
I don't know.
They don't, but they have been. I think it's what we concluded.
By the way, Supreme Court Justice doesn't have to be an attorney, so that would be a good role for him too if a slot comes up. No.
Look, the point of the matter is he deserves to be made.
No,
whole.
I agree.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying. He deserves to be made whole.
Anyway, I don't know.
Look, there are positions where apparently RFK is going to be a health advisor and not a particularly a cabinet-approved position. I think most of these people may be kitchen cabinet types who are, like Musk, I don't think it's going to be an official job. I think that it's going to be an advisory role, and I think that RFK may also have that. Now, we haven't heard about Shanahan at all.
No. Well, she did just drop a new ad. I don't have it, but she did drop an ad from what I understand.
We haven't heard from her. And look, you have Secretary of Defense. I mean, who gets that? I mean, I would go with General Flynn, but that's me.
Tulsi's apparently angling for that.
Okay. They're never going to let that happen.
The problem with
deep state will go to war over that. They'll go to war over that.
They will. And I mean, here's the thing. I'm not against it on principle because I like the fact she's anti-war, a very smart, capable person. But I don't think she's risen high enough in the military like a Flynn to really see. I kind of do feel like having a general.
Yep. No, I'm sticking with Flynn. I'm sticking with Flynn. The guy obviously knows where the bodies are buried, and they're terrified of Flynn.
Yeah, and he's probably served with half of these MFers in the past, so he'll know. He's known some of these guys when they were lieutenants and captains, and really lower level, and be like, okay, these are scumbags. But back to Bobby for a second. This is his friend Aubrey Marcus, and he made a statement about what's going on with Bobby.
From my personal sources within the party, the word is that Trump is honoring every promise he made to Bobby in the campaign. So for anyone out there who has been expecting that Trump was going to crawfish and double cross Bobby Kennedy when he was elected, that isn't what is happening. I have supreme confidence that Bobby is going to transform the corruption of Big Pharma, the pollution of our food supply, open up access to psychedelic medicine.
I want
to heal the chronic disease.
This guy doesn't know a fucking thing.
Those changes alone will save millions of lives.
He's high as a kite. This guy right here, this guy's high as a kite. Whoever this guy is, God bless him, he's high as a kite. It doesn't mean that RFK Jr. is not going to get the ability to recommend or disrecommend somebody. But 600 people from will be fired on day one. Well, we'll see if that happens. Hopefully, but we'll see if that happens. I'm not holding my breath on that.
Well, and I think on that, even Elon, who was supposed to be going in there and cost cutting like crazy, did come up with a plan when he said, we're going to be giving 2-year severances or whatever. So he's
all right.
No, but I'm just saying. So, there's a guy who does fire a lot of people.
And he's got a business way of doing it.
And he even knows you can't just do it.
What is RFK going to do? He's just going to say, do you like psychedelic medicine or something? I mean, What is his method of discerning that 600 people can't be in there? I mean, by the way, Fauci is charging us $20,000 a day.
15 million so far on his security.
20,000 a day for a driver and Secret Service protection, just so people at home know. In retirement, my friend, and Bobby Kennedy had to pay Gavin DeBecker to guard him. I wonder what happened to those guys that somehow got onto his land. Remember the attacks, the early attacks on RFK Jr. Look, I don't think he's, and I had this conversation, I think, with Dr. Drew the other day. I don't think he's going to move to DC. I don't think he wants to leave Malibu. I don't think he wants a job. I think he wants to be an advisor in this thing and not have to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning and have a press conference. That's just my take on it at his age and his lifestyle and his marriage that's teetering. It's just my opinion. It doesn't mean it can't be effective, Eric.
No. I think it's even more effective, and that's what I prefer. I mean, does he have to actually go in there and sign papers? No. If he can walk around and audit and just be available, have his phone. Here's my phone number. Everybody who wants to snitch everybody out, give me a call. Whatever. I think he's probably more effective if he's loosely on the side, just saying, get rid of them, get rid of them, get rid of them, get rid of them. And then Elon, there's no effing way. Elon getting a cabinet position would be one of the greatest wastes I could ever imagine, considering what he runs. I mean, the guy runs multiple, potentially world changing. A lot of people argue and say it's nothing more than government contracts. It's like, no, he's launching satellites and everything else. I don't think cabinet position makes sense. Again, going in there with a buzzsaw for like a 3-month spell, great. And then he can leave and then come back at will, or just be available. Trump could say, hey, what do you think? What do you think? Apparently,
they could just send him the budget of various segments of the government and go, here's the budget. Let me know. Get back to me when you can. What can you cut here? Whatever the budget whatever the department is, they could simply send him the budget of that department and say, just show me where you want to cut or could be cut, and I'll try to do the best I can to make sure that happens. That's very effective.
Right, and he could even put his own people on it. Like he doesn't have to touch himself. I know. No, because a lot of people are saying, oh, Elon, this and that. Well, Elon Musk just recently shared a Steve Jobs clip, and Steve Jobs said that the number one job in the world is recruitment, that you have to get on a team of people who have the same vision you do and then let them do it. Yeah. And by the way, Trump needs to watch that clip too.
Yeah, no, he definitely needs to watch that clip. Like we said, I mean, CEOs don't necessarily hire and fire. You have a human resources department that does that. So his skills in that area may be lacking, not because of anything deficient in him, but simply that's not the job of CEOs. He should. And I don't know if Susie Wiles is his head of human resources. That may be true in a de facto way. I don't know if that's true.
It could be, but a CEO does have to pick their partners. They don't deal with the low level, middle management on down. But when it comes to like all the, office, the C-suite people, I surely hope the CEO knows what they're doing when they pick the chief operating officer, CIO, blah, blah, blah. That's what he's got to get right.
Well, I hope he could use his power to get his partner out of jail. Who worked for him for 30 some odd years at the Trump organization. How about opening your mouth about that? And as Jonathan Gross has been DMing me, how about opening your mouth about the J6ers? I'm not going to stop about it. Either is Jonathan Gross. Jonathan Gross, again, who's been on the show before, is a lawyer to many of the J6ers. He recently received another dozen this week, 6 and 6. And he has requested that Trump make a statement, something about the future of these people, so it will stop the thing from going forward, at least right now, and at least drive a stake into the train to stop it from moving forward until you can deal with it. So he's urging Trump to say something about the J6s, which I believe is one of the biggest political crimes in the history of the United States. These people need to be released immediately. They need to be compensated. I don't care where it comes from. There's some debate. You could do this, you could do that. I don't give a shit. That's not for me to decide. The reality of it is it's one of the biggest political crimes in American history, and it needs to be rectified not 2 years from now. I'm talking about 2.5 months from now. This
Day
thing,
one.
day one, we can't morally, and I'll just be as blunt as humanly fucking possible. We can't gain the moral high ground as a nation around the world if we have people in a gulag like the Soviet Union did in 1958. This has to be rectified. There has to be a Truth and Reconciliation Commission. These people have to be compensated. Their families have to be made whole. There's got to be an investigation into the assassination and murder of the Air Force woman who was killed on January 6th. That gentleman who was the black killer has to be put on trial for murder. And I mean a trial not in D.C. that went 97% for Kamala Harris, but somewhere in Maryland or Virginia where he can have a jury that is fair, put him on trial for murder, and let's get some resolution to these issues on January 6th. Then go after Cheney and that commission.
And that's Ashley Babbitt you're talking about.
Ashley Babbitt, I'm sorry, yeah. I'm sorry.
No worries. I agree, and I agree with Jonathan Gross. I didn't even think about it. Trump should say, I am pardoning these people immediately. So they stop arresting them. Stop bringing more and more and more in, and maybe slow down on the rest of it. Even if Trump can't do it on day one, ideally they let them go, saying, "Oh, he's going to do this." But
that's all Jonathan is asking. That's all he's asking, Eric, is to make a statement saying, "I want this to stop until I have time to look at it. And when I get sworn in, and they will stop doing this right now." And I think that's a good idea. He can't obviously deal with a pardon in November. He's not president yet, but he can make a statement about the J6 victims and prisoners that are in that gulag.
Right.
We can't dictate moral terms to Vladimir Putin when you've got hundreds of people, grandmothers, who trespassed on misdemeanors doing time in the DC gulag. I'm sorry. You can't lecture anyone in any third world country about their treatment of convicts, prisoners, or other political operatives if we're doing this to our own American people.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I didn't think about it, but yes, getting at least stopping more from going in. If he's getting,
he picked up 12 the past week and a half, 6 and 6. I mean, this is a guy who's doing this pro bono, and he's just one former rabbi, Jonathan Gross, who's dealing with this, who couldn't live with himself. He gave up rabbinical studies to become a lawyer to deal with J6.
I know.
I'd like a hero. Gross is an American hero. That's without saying. But he's not even, looking at himself. He's just saying, "Please help these people." For crying out loud.
No. I would like to work him out of a job.
Yeah,
and I know he wants nothing more himself. I mean, and yeah, he's been DMing me too. I've been sharing it out on X when he sends them. So it definitely. And you know what, everybody, you might want to follow us on X. I don't usually block people, but you can find us. We have our handles down below. We are pretty active, and we're sharing out different things, all the time.
Oh, look, there's my finger pointing to the thing.
Yeah, there you go. The finger pointing to the thing. And also, like every show we're announcing is on there. Mark goes to different places like Emerald Robinson and other shows quite a lot. He's posting that on X. So if you want to know where Mark's going,
I went to Viva Sunday. I didn't know I was going to be doing that. But apparently my name was called out of the hat, and I stepped up and performed on behalf of Barnes, who, I said this story, which is absolutely true. When we were kids, everybody wore a Superman costume in the mid-'60s in New York. I assume across the country too. And kids started to try to fly out the window. And a lot of kids got hurt, and some of them lost their lives with Superman costumes. So the following year, Superman costumes came on the label. It said, I always remember this, on the plastic see-through label, it said, "Remember, kids, only Superman can fly." I never forgot that. And I said that on the show, there's only one Robert Barnes, and I'm just here filling that space. And there is only one Robert Barnes, and he's an American hero too, because he's been involved in this thing for a lot longer than I have. And he deserves some consideration to be Attorney General of the United States, Eric.
Agree.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but that's how I feel about it.
Yeah.
Whether Barnes wants it or not, at least he have the honor of turning it down if he doesn't want to do it. But he certainly paid a price in time and usage of his knowledge to help this future administration.
For sure. And you know what Barnes has to do, I imagine, every day, because I think that Barnes is probably in the situation because he has too many irons in the fire. The guy is like a non-stop machine. I mean, he's doing multiple shows like every day of the week on his locals. He's appearing here. He's with the Duran. He's with Barris. He's all over the place. Oh, and then he's in a courtroom flying to Pennsylvania for the Amish.
Drinking raw milk that he says is great, but who knows now?
Oh, right. Well, and what I'm sure that he has to do is he needs a lot of coffee.
You know what?
And
that's a good idea.
The best choice for him, and he could put raw milk in this coffee, even though you don't need it, is America's Untold Story Supreme Breakfast Blend. We haven't brought it up for a couple episodes, and
go ahead, bring it up.
I wanted to share it with everybody. Consider getting this coffee. It is outstanding coffee. It's not just we're not like a white label where we're just buying, whatever burned over Starbucks style, fill in the blank. This is a custom blend that was put together from Mundo's Coffee. The guy is an expert in it. He, put together specifically these types of beans, and Indonesian Sumatra bean, Mexican Chiapas beans, which always sets Mark off.
The Frank Sinatra beans? Yeah, they do.
The Chiapas, the Mexican Chiapas.
They're probably running the state of Arizona, the people who are growing the beans.
Which is perfectly fine. I mean, if you're going to do it to sell our coffee, then I'm okay. A coffee cartel, okay.
Coffee cartel.
That's right. We like the coffee cartel. Everybody, seriously, check this out. americasuntoldstories.com/coffee. I think you will really enjoy it. That's our breakfast blend, which is good for all bits. And while you're there, if you say, hey, I like flavored coffee or whatever, they offer a ton of different coffees, like orange coffee that my wife loves, Jazzy Raz. She's kind of switched into over the winter. I can't believe it. It took her off her orange coffee. She was like, now hooked on this other coffee. And of course, our own brand, which does help the channel out, helps them out. It's a veteran-owned business. And I definitely appreciate it.
Well, I'm gonna keep drinking mine, and Eric's gonna keep drinking his.
Yes.
So I recommend that coffee. There's no doubt about it. Now, that being said, about some future shows, we've got some JFK related people I'm not going to announce today because the anniversary is coming up. We're going to have some guests on.
The ones I've seen in my emails recently, those.
Yeah, there's a couple, not those. Okay. No, forget about those. I don't care about that. There's a couple of others we're going to have on who've been on before. And we're going to, the 22nd is coming up soon. So we're going to take a leave from the election news to, honor the 22nd. And hopefully RFK Jr. will get into those files. And that box that we saw, remember that box that we talked about that was nearby and by you? Somebody's got to get into that box. We've got the JFK files, the JFK Records Act. Trump vows to do it this time. Ruth Payne is not.
Yeah, yes, Wayne. Ruth Payne is going to be on the show.
I'm not coming on that show with those two men. They're disgusting. No, she's not coming on. But we're going to have the next best thing. People who know all about them. And I think it might be one or two particular guests. We'll see how many we can squeeze in. But we just wanted to make sure we didn't miss November 22nd this year. It's been a busy year, but it kind of almost got. I almost forgot about it, but we got to acknowledge that and get back into Watergate after that with John Mitchell. We're going to try to get a guest on for the John Mitchell episode, so I'm waiting on that guy. So we're going to, do what we can in the meantime till we get these ducks in a row.
For sure, and for more support of the show, we got some super chats that came in. Pamela Clifton, who's been doing it very early on most shows. Happy Tuesday, guys. Thank you, Pamela. Isle of Boston. Members of Viva Barnes Law are apoplectic over Susie Wiles' pick. Do you also regret voting for Trump?
I regret voting for Trump.
Let me think about
Let me think about that.
You
I'll get back
hired
to you.
one person, so I would rather vote for Kamala Harris
Yes,
because her chiefest staff pick.
No, Barnes was on it. I didn't know Barnes was on it until I did the show because I said the same thing out of the blue. I had never heard Barnes talk about it, but every people in the chat at his channel and Viva told me that Barnes has been against her for a long time, and I went, "Oh, okay, so I'm not alone."
You see, I'm going to keep my powder dry on that because I'm not sure. You know, I know she's a lobbyist of a lot of stuff, but you know, if she's responsible for him winning the election or a big part of that responsibility, she could be on the good side now. She did help DeSantis get elected. So I just don't know. I mean,
here's my take. She's a 69-year-old grandmother. Okay.
Right.
This is a super high energy job for a guy or maybe a chick in their 40s, the peak of their game. This is like an Olympic level job, and this is separate take from the corporate lobby take. A 69-year-old grandmother should be home with her grandchildren. I don't want Nancy Pelosi, the Republican version of her, inside. And I don't mean that she's the same as Nancy Pelosi, but at some point, it's enough is enough already in terms of, you know, doing day-to-day stuff. Your energy levels do dissipate.
True. And if she is a transitionary figure, then
she may be right. She may be a transitionary figure until they get into power, which is what I think might happen.
So let's see, Grandpa with 10 America's Untold Stories memberships. Thank you very much. Pew Pew with 10 of his own.
Keep in mind, these are not subscribers. People are confused about this, Eric, in the chat sometimes.
Fair enough.
They're saying that we should have 1 million subscribers. Memberships are not subscriber numbers. We still need you to subscribe to the channels. Two separate things. Don't ask me to explain it, but it's not the same as a membership.
No, it's similar to our locals, where only in locals, the members are the free version and the subscribers are the paid versions. That's been a bane of people's existence for a long time.
The terminology.
Right, because podcasts, people would subscribe to the podcast, but in general, subscriptions come at a cost. So you're always having to say a free subscription. Like if you subscribe here on YouTube, you hit the button down below, it's free. Yeah. There's no cost whatsoever. But the term, it's kind of annoying that they use it. Follow would be better. You know,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say Twitter, Facebook, things like that. They have like and follow. Follow. Okay, you're following. There's no money involved. You're following. And that makes more sense.
There used to be an old trick in the magazine business to give out free subscriptions to boost your numbers in the subscription department. This could be done at a corporate level. This could be done on multiple levels, but it was an old trick. And the number that people really in the magazine business began to look at for the health of a publication was newsstand, because they had abused free subscriptions so much that the subscription model became an inactive or erratic determination of the health of a publication. And newsstand, how many individual copies were physically bought on a newsstand, became the true metric. And I know this from National Lampoon and other magazines I've worked at, that became the real metric of the health of a publication was newsstand. And the subscription model was easily abused.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm sure that most people in the audience have that subscription either at home or at work, where every month you're sent, this is your last issue.
Yeah.
And I've had, and I've always laughed at that. You know, at my old job, I was there for almost 20 years. I probably had magazines that I had 10 years of last issues every month.
Well, they would use that to sell print ads within the publication, the CPM based on subscriptions, and they would be literally giving subscriptions away. So the advertisers got hip to it and said, we just want to know your newsstand numbers. And they were like, what? We're not giving you those. But healthy magazines, on the other hand,
would say, sure, here you go.
Absolutely. And Lampoon was one of those. And National Lampoon had a 7-to-1 ratio. I forgot the exact number, something enormous newsstand to subscription ratio that killed other publications that were giving away their magazine for free, you know, just to boost the numbers.
Right. And I can imagine, I mean, the strongest ones have to be like the Inquirer, where, people are buying
men's
it
magazines
right there.
Penthouse, Playboy. You don't want it delivered
Sure.
at home. You want to go to the newsstand. Men's magazines like that also had high newsstand. And there's something called pass along. How many people read your magazine based on the one copy you bought? And that was a metric. Lampoon had a very high pass along. You can get a whole college dorm to read one issue, thereby exposing them to a Chrysler car ad in the magazine, and that was a metric.
And it's a good metric. And by the way, I agree with the newsstand, because that's people going out of their way, saying, give me that there, taking their money and putting it
out. In the rain.
Yes.
Yeah. At an airport. I mean,
in the plane.
Reading them in the plane itself, in the bathroom.
All right. Grandpa with 5 more America's Untold Stories memberships.
Why can't Grandpa be the director of transportation?
I don't know. Grandpa maybe could.
Grandpa could possibly. He knows how to drive.
Dustin wants to set the record straight. Come on, guys. It's Dr. Joe Biden.
Okay, 2 things. What is Pete Buttigieg going to do with the rest of his life now? Just be a stay-at-home husband? I mean, what is his future like?
No, he's gearing up for a presidential run. I think with Newsom, he's always in the mix. And I've never understood it, because the guy I've always considered one of the biggest lightweights.
Yeah.
Let me put it this way. I confuse him with Beto.
Yeah. I think he was the one. They wanted to find one gay guy instead of having 12 gay guys. They wanted one, and they all coalesced around this one guy. And they said, okay, he's our gay guy. That's the guy. I think that's basically what happened. I don't know who the lesbian version of that is, but there might be some that we don't know about.
Speaking of that and the whole trans mess and things, won't it be nice not seeing our medical officials be creatures, if you will?
Creatures.
Well, the one who's an admiral who never served a day in their life.
That's going to end too, right?
It'll be
what becomes to Admiral Levine now? Does Admiral Levine go back to being a naval commander in the Middle East? I mean, where does Admiral Levine go? The Pennsylvania medical doctor or whatever she was in Pennsylvania.
I have no idea, but
keep in mind, this is someone who snuck her own mother out of a nursing home because of COVID, while she left everyone else in there to die. Another courageous American bureaucrat who served on the front lines.
My favorite part is that will no longer be admiral, and I don't have to look at him.
Yeah,
that's my favorite. Sun Wukong, their stochastic. I always struggle with that. Stochastic terrorism got Mr. Melania shot. I wouldn't show up either. TRF, Trump is arguably the greatest American to ever live.
Well, that is arguably.
Yeah, I mean,
sure. I would argue
he's a great American. I don't know.
Look, he's part. Look, there are people who are part of the cult, and this guy's one of them. Okay,
he's great, but
not that great.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's like if I have to go George Washington, I might struggle with that.
I mean, there's people in military. I mean, who served. Smedley Butler or Donald Trump. Smedley Butler. It's not debatable.
Sean Lucan gifted 10 America's Untold Stories memberships. Thank you. And Max Redstone. Let us rejoice in the return in the MAGA King.
Right. Sumner Redstone's son, who used to own Viacom. Everyone knows Max Redstone. Also involved in the Mars project for Elon Musk. Max is one of the great astronomers and rocket engineers, as was his father, Sumner Redstone, who I believe had a deep state Asian wife. I'm trying to remember.
Oh yeah.
Am I wrong? Or he did?
I think so. Him and Murdoch, they probably went to the same parties.
Wow, man, that's dark. That's dark.
All right, Sun Wukong. Saturday is Shabbat. No more mail-in ballot.
Pete Hegseth is your new defense secretary. Fox News alert. Trump names Pete Hegseth as defense secretary. It's breaking news.
I don't know who that is, but okay.
I'll take anybody. I don't, whatever his background is, I'll look into it. But There's a picture of him with a tank. So we'll see.
Oh,
what
that's
he's
encouraging. I mean, that he knows what a tank is.
Yeah.
Pew Pew with 10 more America's Untold Stories memberships. Thank you very much, Pew Pew. So generous. 3, my grandmother retired in 79, 60 years teaching K through 12 in West Texas. When she started, she could drag ranch kids to the one-room schoolhouse by their ears. Glad to retire, stating the federal DOE was the end of actual education. Your grandmother is very smart.
By the way, Massey out of Kentucky wants to be the head of agriculture and move it out of
I'm okay with that.
DC, but again, it's another loss.
I'm in the Senate, or what?
Yeah, you can't do it, Eric.
Yeah,
you can't just keep pulling every single person out of the Senate and the House.
I know, especially when he's the good Kentucky senator.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like we already got rid of the bad one.
McConnell. Isn't Rand Paul the other one? Oh, McConnell. All right, I'm sorry.
Oh, wait a minute. So Massey's not Kentucky.
It's Rand Paul, Kentucky.
Right.
Massey, I think, is
Tennessee. No,
somebody must know. But the point of the matter is, he wants to be head of agriculture. I don't know why.
All right. Somebody said Massey is a loon. Okay.
He's a loon. Oh my, I haven't heard that.
Oh, Massey in the House.
Yeah.
Okay.
Out of somewhere in Kentucky, though, right? Or no?
I'm not going to say. I don't know.
Okay.
Okay. Not fans of Massey in the.
Who's not a fan of Massey? Everybody's a fan of Massey.
No. Not in the chat. He is in Kentucky. He's in the House, apparently.
Right. Yeah. We can't afford any more defections.
Well, yeah, especially that. If House is worse.
Yeah.
Who'd have thought?
Oh, you can't give up Senate seats. I mean, Senate seats are so valuable. I mean, there's only a handful of them. There's 50 some odd for one side. You know, the House has 435 members, but you can't just give up either one of them at this point.
True.
There's other human beings who are not in government. I'm sorry. There's other people on the earth that are not a House member or a senator. Start with those, work your way backwards.
That's true. Have you read Robert Greene's 48 Laws of Power? Most of it. Law number 2 states, never put too much trust in friends. Learn how to use enemies. Maybe that's relevant in Trump's new admin.
No.
Let me qualify that for a second.
I don't think so.
You put you use enemies in a position. You don't hand them the knives and say, "Oh, I'll be looking out the window right now."
Right.
So yes, you do use enemies. I agree with that, but try not arming them.
Yeah, I mean, look, McGovern was a World War II bombardier. Nixon didn't make him Secretary of Defense.
Exactly. I mean, there's Kamala's campaign equals money laundering scheme. Might as well have been $1 billion.
Yeah, let's look into it. Let's go. They got to go on the offensive. This we're moving on thing is not going to be helpful. They'll be back in power and they'll say, what happened to us? Was there any repercussions? And they're going to say, no, absolutely nothing. And they'll go, oh, that's odd. Let's do it again.
Well, and even Carville, I will say, when Carville was talking about later, he said, we are now an opposition party and we need to act like an opposition party. And he had to define it. He said, we have nothing. He said, opposition party has no power of any kind. So you've got to act like it.
Boy, oh boy. I mean, they should give him a job.
Well, and he's pissed too because he's like, yeah, I know I'm old. I can't help. I was born in
1940. I think this guy Pete Hegseth is on Fox and Friends. I think he's a guy that I've seen on Fox and Friends.
Oh, good Lord! I wouldn't be surprised because Trump loves that show.
Yeah, he's on one of these shows. I've seen him before.
That's what Spicer was saying earlier. That was interesting. He said that there's a different lie. He said there's people who are angling for a job with Trump. He said, but then there's people that Trump is interested in, and they're not necessarily looking for the job. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of a weird paradigm there. David March, hi guys, thanks for the party. Favorite part was when I got to tell you we had won.
That was good. Thanks,
yeah, that was fun. That was probably
that was
best
fun.
Part of the party.
Who knew we had won? I mean, the thing was going on so long, it was disorienting.
Well, we were up till 3-something in the morning when I got announced. It was like, oof. JS, Carrie Lake's job, press secretary. You're both wonderful. Thank you. She'd be fine as press secretary.
She's probably overqualified for that job. Is all I'm saying.
Probably, but she can't get elected.
Yeah,
I
there
don't
are
know.
other jobs. I mean,
yeah, I don't know. Let's see. This is Wellesley. Question mark. Who do you think turned California blue? Some say it was Reagan immigration reform. I blame the influx of liberal Americans from other states. Happened from 80s through 90s via number of out-of-state plates.
it was illegal immigration. That's all. Everybody knows the answer to that. None of these things are true. None of those statements are true. It was illegal immigration, mass illegal immigration in the tons of millions, close to 2 million in LA County alone, over a 10 to 15 year period. It may be as many as 17 to 20 million people.
All right. Sun Wukong, Eric Prince for SecDev.
Well, he's sketchy as fuck too.
Yeah, I know.
Dude, he's another sketchy dude, bro.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
Blackwater himself.
It's a little sketchy.
Yeah.
You know what? There's a lot of sketchy people on the right. We're finding out, Hunley.
Oh, I've always known that.
No, I'm finding out. No, you know, I'm finding out.
Yeah.
I just got here.
It's a different kind of sketch. That's the thing. It's like, there's different flavors of sketchiness. Let me see. Stephen McMahon. What happens in the case that the cabals Larange before inauguration? Does JD Vance automatically become prez?
I don't think so. Because they don't have any legal status. I don't know what would happen in that case. I thought about that a couple of weeks ago. They're not elected. Where's the succession? They're not sworn in. They're just civilians at this point. Hence the elect.
Well, if you're vice president elect and the president elect is no longer there, for whatever reason, then wouldn't you be effectively president elect?
I don't know, because I don't think it's in writing anywhere. That's what I'm saying. Like, take about the 25th Amendment. That had to be created. I don't think there's an amendment for this thing. That's why I'm saying that. I don't know. There might be, but I've never heard of it.
Okay, yeah, I don't know.
It's uncharted territory.
And I pray that doesn't happen. Helena Oljic is a new member. Thank you.
I thought she was an older member. I thought I've seen
it might have expired,
right, that old chestnut.
Yeah, it's possible. Fletcher Boy, San Fran and Oakland unwoke.
Well, apparently, Prop 36 Prop 36, in case people don't know, was the reversion to felony on accounts, crimes that were felonies before. Let me put it that way. And that won by one of the biggest landslides in ballot history in California, with nearly 75% of the vote. It's an astounding number of people who are fed up with crime in California. I'm looking at positive signs from California. The DA, Nathan Hochman, obviously this McConnell, who's the sheriff turned LA chief of police, and there's the spread of red somewhat in terms of voting patterns in California gives me optimism. I mean, all of these states have been the opposite sometime in American history, Eric, as we talking about it on Viva's show the other day. I mean, remember when LBJ, Texas was blue. Remember when Florida was blue. These can go back the other way.
I will always argue, though, like Youngkin here in Virginia or whatever, that the number one way to pull something out of leftist hands is crime.
Crime's a real Achilles heel.
Yeah, I mean, they always let things go and just completely run amok, and then finally somebody's got to come in, a Giuliani, somebody, whatever, and then fix the crime.
The liberal conscience of the Democratic left are single white women. And once you get into crime, the single white women moral high ground collapses, because they're the most vulnerable in their own minds and in reality in society. And when that begins to happen, they are then stuck in a moral dilemma. And that completely undermines the power of the woke liberal left. So crime is either ignored by them, or they lie about FBI statistics, because it becomes a bellwether for their own demise, which is what's happening right now.
100%. On Rumble, with a rant from Flea Speech, they tossed illegals out of Martha's Vineyard, but now the same mass retards are fighting deportation, LOL.
It doesn't matter. They're going to round him up. It's going to take a number of years. They're going to go at this methodically using the military and ICE, and they could scream bloody murder all they want. This guy's been given a mandate. There was something like 66 or 68% of the American people who were on both sides of the aisle supporting mass deportation. I don't give a shit what they're saying. Stop, not you personally, stop giving them amplification of their crazy effing ideas. I'll tell you something. There was a senator from New York named Daniel Moynihan, and he wrote a report about minorities and their treatment in the United States for Richard Nixon. And he recommended to Nixon a term that he came up with, which was benign neglect. In other words, ignore them. Do not cater to them. There was an incident where they came and visited Nixon, and they went out and had a press conference 2 seconds later and son of a bitched him. And Nixon was furious. And Moynihan came in and had this report, this famous report that he wrote about families, African-American families. And he told Nixon to just ignore them. And that's what I recommend to regarding us and the Democratic left. Do not engage in a conversation. Do not amplify their conversations. Do not get into a pissing match with them. That's what they want. They're in the wilderness, Eric, right now. Am I right? They have lost the trifecta of American politics. They've lost the House, the Senate, and the White House. Forget about them saying anything. Please, for the love of God, ignore them. I know it's difficult having been in your ear for so long, but let's focus on moving forward without them. Focus on firm rule as a new style and moving forward. You don't have to check with them about every policy change that Trump comes up with. Just do it. Get it done. If the American people want to throw out the Republicans 4 years from now because they don't like it, we'll deal with that in 4 years. But right now, there's a mandate to rule. When you have a mandate, you don't ask them every single time, you mind if I wear these blue jeans to work? If that makes any sense to anybody.
No, as again, the infamous James Carville said, they're an opposition party now.
Yeah. Yeah, they're in the wilderness.
They're just to scream and shout and snipe from the side and
to stop and have a conversation going, hey, what do you think of this? And they're going, oh, thank you. I thought you'd never ask. Let me tell you something. I think you're a piece of shit with your deportation program. You go, whoa, I didn't see that coming. Well, you asked me. You know, I mean, it's stupid. Don't ask them. Don't talk to them. Don't mention them. Forget about putting up their policies anywhere. Ignore them.
100%. Well, where we're going to go now is to locals, where we can conspire further about the future of our nation. Yeah. There is one more Rumble rant I just saw coming in from Flea Speech. If nothing changes, motorhomes will not be able to be sold and registered in California beginning in 2025. The exact date is still to be determined. Okay, good luck on that one.
Right. Well, the federal government will have a say in that also.
I hope so.
Yeah. I mean, I got gas here the other day. I almost fell out of my car. It was $2.98, and I got to go back to the world of $6.98. And there's $4 in between those two prices, and that $4 goes to give all this stuff to the homeless, goes to give it to the illegal aliens, pay for the NGOs, so rich people's kids can have jobs coming out of universities. By the way, Yale University, which is $87,000 a year, now has a program for 1 credit on Beyonce and her influence on African-American culture. You can't make this up. That's how low the intellectual bar has been lowered in terms of the culture over there. But you know what? Fuck them. Who gives a shit what they do at Yale?
With that final word, we'll see all of you on Locals.